What's up, Yoon-Fam? It is I,
Mark Yoon.
So piggybacking off of yesterday's video where I gave my final thoughts on Soul Calibur 6, I reviewed what things that I liked about the game, so we called that the good, and today we're going to focus on the negative. So, when it comes to handling any kind of experience negative, I can do my best to try and be as respectful to the game and the creators as possible, while also being true to myself and the feedback from my community, which means you guys. So, the number one thing that I hate the most about Soul Calibur 6 is, first and foremost, we're going to go with the lack of communication from the developers. So they are very quick when it comes to positive things about their game or anything of that nature to jump all over it on YouTube and on Twitter and everything else. But then as soon as it comes to any kind of negative feedback, they either don't address it, ignore it, or are just like nowhere to be found. And this is also the case when it comes to talking to us directly about like features of the games or content that is not or isn't coming out. Which is understandable to a certain extent, but at some point you got to just put your foot down and say, hey, you need to be more open and transparent. I paid money for the game, and I expect to be treated as a consumer and a customer and valued at that. Another aspect of the game that I really dislike is the limitations that they put artificially on the character creator in the game. This is probably one of my biggest pet peeves. While I applaud them for trying to spread out the functionality of the mode by like giving us different races and things of that nature, what ends up happening is they literally just lock content behind those things, and it becomes super convoluted and super hard to navigate. Like certain objects that like we were allowed to use everybody for in Soul Calibur 5 are like locked behind a certain character. Let me give you an example. So like the like demon-esque people, they're the only ones that have that like devil tail. So if I go to try to create Nightcrawler from the X-Men, in which I created in Soul Calibur 5, I cannot do so because now he's got giant horns which are unattachable and unmobile and unremovable. I believe that they should take a lot of these things and treat them the same way accessories do, where we can mold them and fit them to our wishes, but that will come for another video of what I want to see happen and change with the character creator. But for now, just suffice it to say that most of the content is locked behind certain races or genders. Males seem to have way less content than the females, and if you go to any other race, like the lizard race for example, you can't even put anything on them from the top up. Another thing that is stressful that I really dislike about Soul Calibur 6 is a lack of modes. So I know I praised somewhat modes in the last video, but Libra of Souls just doesn't cut it for some people, and I hear them and I understand them. Like, I really wish we had towers back, which is something super easy to like implement. I mean, we even have a somewhat tower system in Libra of Souls where different platforms have different effects, like such as wind or slipperiness or darkness, things of that nature. You can easily bring back a towers mode and give us another like way to play, and have people have something more to do when they're tired of like losing to nightmare characters online using Reversal Edge. I think that would be super easy. And Weapon Master mode is another mode that a lot of people want back, including myself. There's just a lot of aspects of Soul Calibur that I thought were staples in the past that they seem to have ignored or forgotten about in this game. And it's something that somewhat makes me a little uneasy. Another thing that I hate is some of the new mechanics that they've implemented into this game. So I can't stand Reversal Edge. I've made it known multiple times. Most of you who know me know how I feel about this mode, or this mechanic anyway. And it's not even to say the fact that, oh, it's easy to get away from, or it's easy to block, or whatever. That's not even the point. It's the fact that it even slows down the gameplay, period, is, like, from an onlooker's perspective, makes it look very, like, choppy, and it literally, like, interrupts combos. They used to have them mapped to certain buttons, and some characters still have them mapped into certain combo strings that you can't even adjust. Combo strings that were untouched in past games, and now you just go automatically into Reversal Edge. And, not only does this stop for any kind of juggling or, like, ring out method or anything like that, but it also just, like, breaks up the gameplay and puts you into this rock, paper, scissors mode that is not very fun or explained very well. Like, none of the buttons are actually choreographed to letting you know what they do outside of like major, like main little things. But I mean, inside of there's a lot of things you could do, like dodging, weaving, averting. There's like tons of things you can do besides just pressing a button to attack, but it's not very explained very well. And I think that's part of the problem, is why people don't like the mode. There's other reasons why people don't like the mode, myself included, but it's kind of beating a dead horse at this point to even talk about that. I feel like I've already addressed these points in videos prior. If you have any more that you want to talk about, put them in the comment section down below. Now, besides a lot of these modes that I have some kind of affinity against or things like that, I still have fun with the game overall, but I mean, there's a lot of things that I need to work on, honestly. I don't even know if I've really mentioned everything that I wanted to say in this video. I mean, if I really want to sit back and think about it, there's other things such as legacy characters that are not in the game that should be in the game, that were slated to be in DLC that we don't even know if we're going to get. There's other things such as a lack of fun weapons, like only like later characters got like a couple of extra weapons that were like the fun ones, the joke weapons. It would be nice to see everybody have joke weapons. It would also be nice to see everybody have more than one, like a couple weapons. Like, the weapon selection is very limited in this game. Another thing that I really wish would be here is alternate costumes. There's like no costumes at all, except for a couple of the characters that got them via DLC, such as Sungmina's like classic costume. We're pretty much have to try and create them ourselves, and we can't really create them if we don't have the parts for them. So that's another thing that really irks me about that as well. It seems like the good definitely outweighs the bad when it comes to this game, and I'm not saying there's any reason to not play the game, but there are definite issues. One, probably my biggest issue with the game, is the netcode and the way they utilize, or the way they perform maintenance on the peer-to-peer. There are things outside of their capabilities that affect it that they can't necessarily control. Things such as someone having a bad connection, or someone using a Wi-Fi connection, or something like that, or somebody's service even, or somebody's bandwidth. A lot of that stuff affects it, but there's things on their end that they can do to mitigate those things. There is AI functionality that they can apply to, instead of like using a rollback system, they can use a forward system where they have AI finish a combo, guessing what the inputs are going to be before the inputs are actually pressed by the opponent, and then taken over manually to avoid any kind of lag or things like that. Because to be honest, some of the lags and frame drops get like really ridiculous. You can't help who you're paired up with any more than like you can help like who you're directly trying to like connect with when you're playing like ranked. And sometimes like you get like a stop motion, like you're just doing frame by frame basically, or you get kicked out of a lobby often and you can't even watch like people that are in your lobby playing. There's a ton of ways that this can be fixed, and a ton that are misunderstood, even from the community aspect of what's going on with that, but it's something they very much need to work on. Another thing that I want to see improved is cinematics. There is a lack of cinematics in the game. There are cinemas placed somewhat sparingly throughout some parts of the game, but Libra of Souls should definitely have more than 2 cinemas. Arcade should always have a cinema. I don't care if we have Soul Chronicles that are supposed to replace that. Arcade should always have cinemas, so at least you feel like you're doing something when you complete it. And for that matter, Soul Chronicles needs more cinematics as well. It's literally just watching 2 pictures talking to each other with an occasional motion, like maybe an attack, oof, or something like that. There's no animation to it. It's basically just like hand-drawn pictures being moved back and forth. It's really hard to explain. It's just very static and very lifeless. And it's something that I would expect from a much less experienced company, and with much less standards. It's something I would expect, honestly, from like an indie developer, not someone like Project Soul. So I would like to see them actually utilize some of the budget to put towards cinematics. And if it's too expensive to 3D render them, then at least give us animated cinematics. Like, give us like an anime-esque feel you can do that beforehand, put it in there, and like we'll be happy with that. I know a lot of us would, definitely. Another thing that I want to see in them work on is I want to see character voices for your created character. Like, I understand in a lot of games you can't like have voice lines for like everything, but if you have like a basic voice line that you're going to use for a voice character, have that voice actor read some lines and of dialogue so that when you're in the story you feel more immersed, not like one of those, oh, I'm just standing here stoically while the rest of the cast are talking even though I'm supposed to be the main character. To me, that's just unacceptable and lazy. There's far many other things that I can get into in this video of negative things, but there were far more good things I could have covered in the other video. The reason I leave that so unanimously blank is so that I can pass the question off to you guys. How do you feel about the negative aspects of Soul Calibur 6, and do you agree with what I thought the negative aspects were? Are there things that are more negative to you, or things that should be less of a concern or more of a concern? I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section down below, and I also want to hear from you on my Discord, so there's a link for that in the description box down below where you can talk to me and the rest of the Yoon-Fam directly. Please consider liking the video. It really helps out and I appreciate it. And also, if you like the content that I make and want to help the channel succeed, you can always join. There are very cheap options for memberships, including a 99-cent Yoon-Fam option, and you still get perks with it. It's not just a perk list system. If there's anything else you guys want me to cover, please leave it in the comment section down below. And as I always say, I love it. Thank you.
And thank you.